You're watching the Battered Fans Network.
Chris, I don't know where you went. Welcome, everybody, to episode number 286 of the Battered Heroes podcast. I'm your host, Daniel Granada, and alongside me should be Mr. KBD, but he ran off somewhere, so we're going to get started without him while he comes back and joins us. And I see Mr. Krabs. Shout out to Mr. Krabs. Why didn't we make this one stream? For those of you that are joining this show to listen to us talk about the schedule, we did have a mini episode, an emergency pod leading into this one that was dedicated to the departure of Leo Campana. The reason we didn't make it one stream was honestly because we didn't want to just squeeze it in to the schedule release. We wanted to give him 20, 30 minutes to talk about him because we wanted to give him his flowers, even though, people think that I hate him. I don't, but I do think he didn't live up to his billing. But regardless, that was why we had two separate streams. We are here now. We're here to talk about the schedule release. So here we go. Today, the schedule released, and the first thing that I wanted to say about the schedule release is that I'm not sure how the MLS manages to keep us from getting any leaks before the actual schedule release, because it released at 2 o'clock, and I was sure that by 10, 11 a.m. that the leaks would be out somewhere. Usually the NFL, the NBA, all of them, all those schedules leak early. Good job to the MLS to somehow keep it on the wraps. No leaks, and then at 2 o'clock, everybody found out at the same time. Now, I'm curious, just to get the insight from the chat before we start talking about the schedule. When you see the schedule, everybody's a little different. I think the first thing everybody looks at is more or less the same, but then everybody starts looking at different things. I'm curious, what is the very first thing you do when you see this new schedule? Because obviously for me, and I think probably for most, is when is the first game and against who? That's usually when you usually get the first look. But after that, what's the very first thing you look for? I'll tell you what I look for. The very second thing I look for is my birthday. I want to know if they play on my birthday, if it's a home game, if it's an away game, and then I start looking for special days. Mr. Krabs says that he looks to see when they play Orlando. Okay. Soccer Daddy, that's a good one. They want to know when they play the Western teams. And we're going to talk about that because we only have one actual Western trip out to San Jose. But that's a good one also. Chris is joining us now. Chris, what's one of the things that you look at when you first see the schedule?
So the first thing I look at is I look at the birthdays, right? My birthday.
Is that before you look at the first game? Because I feel like everybody looks at the first game first.
Well, the first game is essentially a granted.
Yeah,
right?
Okay.
You always want to see exactly when you're going to start the season. And if I'm not mistaken, I think we started it off against NYCFC last year, no?
No,
or was that? Okay. I know that there was a game, maybe I'm thinking of another season, but
you're thinking of 2 years ago. We didn't start against NYCFC, but we played them the third game of the season, maybe. It was the third game of the season. We started off 2-0. We were hyped. Gregory got injured that third game.
Yes.
We lost that game, and then we went on a million-game losing streak. But we were hyped because we won the first two games. So that's what you're thinking about. And Miami Kings saying first game. Jack Hart, first game. And then let's see. Nick Powell, I look for what games I can make it to, Atlanta or Charlotte. That's if you live out in Miami, I could definitely see that. So, okay.
Well, I looked. I mean, I don't know if you want to talk about the specific games that you and I looked at yet.
Go for it, and then we'll go into the specifics of the actual schedule and how it broke down.
So, obviously, for obvious reasons, July 9th, which is my son's
they don't
birthday.
know. Yeah, they don't know the obvious reason.
Okay. And Danny, we got a super slam, and I saw the message from Ed Bigote burning the midnight oil. Shout out to Ed Bigote with the super slam.
Oh no, there it is.
There we go. Start of New Jersey fund for Chris's son. Please get him a real Strikers jersey.
Yes.
Listen, Campana was his favorite player. What can I tell you? I'm not gonna tell him not to be a
you
fan
do
of a
tell
player.
him that. Absolutely.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not.
Growing up, I wanted to be a Michael Jordan fan, and my father did not allow it.
Good for him. Michael Jordan.
Exactly. So you're telling me good for not liking the greatest player of all time, but
exactly.
I can't stop him from liking Campana?
Everybody likes Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan, let me tell you something about Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is the biggest piece of crap. All right, it's all right, fine. Okay, so we're not going to do basketball, okay? Forget about Michael Jordan. Look at this. Now you got me all riled up. People are laughing. Yeah, your father is crazy, Danny. Get out of here.
My father, absolutely, you're not liking Michael Jordan. You crazy?
Yeah.
Thank God I'd be a Bulls fan right now.
Yeah, oh my goodness. That'd be awful. So July 9th, like I said, for obvious reasons, is against the Revolution. That's on his birthday. And now even for bigger reasons, because Campana's going to be playing for the Revolution, it's going to be a fun game. So I'll give you one, and then you give me one. What day are you looking at?
The first thing I looked at was my birthday, to see if we played on my birthday, and we do play on my birthday, but it's on the road in Charlotte.
Oh, but that's nice. That's a game I wanted to go to because my experience with Charlotte was amazing.
Yeah,
I love going to the Charlotte game.
Yeah, I'm not going to go celebrate my birthday with my family in Charlotte, though.
That's nice. You can make a thing out of it. Charlotte's got little things happening around there. Like you can get your little city fix. You can get your town fix, your small town fix.
Nah, if it would have been local, I might have gone, but I'm not traveling to Charlotte with the family for my birthday to watch that. But that's what I look at. And then I look at games that I can't make it to. Like, I know I can't make it on my wife's birthday. I know I'm not going to make it on my kids' birthdays because they're not big enough Inter Miami fans. So I'm going to be like, hey, you want to spend your birthday at the game? So I look for those, but luckily none of those happened this year. There are no birthdays and games coinciding.
Well, unfortunately for me, fortunately, but not fortunately, May is the next thing that I looked at because obviously my birthday's in May and I also have my 3 daughters with their birthdays in May. So May is a packed month for me as far as things go. And there is a birthday a day before my daughter's birthday and a day before my other daughter's birthday, which are both at home.
So you're going to miss those.
So I may be either missing those or dragging them to those. We'll have to see.
You're a terrible person.
Well, I don't know about my oldest daughter. She'll probably tell me to go kick rocks, but at least my youngest daughter, she'll come.
Well, the month of May, I guess we could start getting into the actual schedule. The month of May has 7 games.
Yes.
I think that's the most games we've ever played in a single month, regular season.
Yes.
In the month of May, we have 7 regular season games. And I believe last year we had 6, which was a lot also. Now, I haven't taken the chance to look at the Champions Cup schedule. I know. I saw somebody on Twitter say that they wanted the same schedule we made last year where we filled in the possible games if they were in the Champions Cup and US Open Cup and stuff. Unfortunately, my job sucks now because I've changed jobs since last year. So I no longer have the time to do those things. But I'll start looking right now to see if we would play any May games.
Well, while you look that up, at least there is a birthday a day before there is a game before my birthday on May 3rd. Coincidentally, Danny, it's at home against the Red Bulls. So this past year, we played against the Red Bulls on my birthday. And now we play against the Red Bulls the day before my birthday, which is pretty cool. Now, the only other thing that I kind of look at, I guess, while you pull that information up, is games that I kind of want to travel to. And the game that I saw was March 16th, which is in Atlanta. That's a game that I do want to travel to. And then May 24th, I do want to go to Philly. I want to go ahead and watch a game out watching the Philadelphia Union. So those are 2 for sure ones.
So I looked it up. Now, in the month of May, we have 7 games. If we were to make it to the semifinals of the CONCACAF Champions Cup, and we play the second leg on May 1st, there you go. May 1st, then Francisco was right on the money, right as I was doing it. On May 1st, then we would possibly play 8 games in the month of May.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of games. We need that is going to test our fitness, our depth, probably. That's going to be a tough month. So is there anything you want to touch on now before we start pulling up the actual schedule on the screen?
Well, I mean, other than that, I mean, I was just gonna pull up I mean, we can pull up the schedule. Bigote, I'm gonna make sure that we meet up in one of the games. Absolutely.
All right, so here it is. We're starting our season against NYCFC at home. Then our first road game is against Houston.
Mike Jones.
Okay, yeah, Mike Jones. Now, if you look at this, we don't play many Western Conference games in the actual West Coast.
Yeah, because we
We
play FC
play-
Dallas at home. We play
We play-
Minnesota. Well, we play Minnesota away.
Right,
We
but
play-
that's in the that's the Midwest. That's not really West Coast.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I guess that's a little further west, but it's not West Coast, right? You have Minnesota. You play Houston, which is in Texas.
I want to make sure I mentioned something. Star Wars was born on my day. Okay, I wasn't born on Star Wars Day. Let's not get that twisted, Mr. Krabs.
What came first, Star Wars or your birthday?
I probably came first.
No, Star Wars came around in the 70s, buddy.
Let's go ahead
And
and do
then-
what you're doing.
And then we play against San. So we have 3 West Coast trips. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you. I honestly thought that they would manage to have us go to San Diego. I figured that it's an expansion team. You want to get some hype going. I thought that might even be the first game of the season for us. Maybe us traveling to San Diego. I thought that would be a good money draw expansion team. But I was surprised that that's not the way that they went. So we're not really taking too many far trips West Coast outside of San Jose. San Jose was a terrible team last year. So I don't know how they're going to be looking this year. So we have Houston. That's our first road game. Then we are at home to Charlotte. And then we
7
play
days
Atlanta.
later.
Then we play Atlanta soon thereafter.
Well, I mean, look at the spacing, right? So we play at home against Charlotte 7 days later. Then away Atlanta 7 days later. Then what is it? I'd say 14 days later, 13 days later, we play at home against Philadelphia Union. 7 days later against Toronto at home. They're pretty spaced out so far in the beginning.
Oh, remember, you're gonna have Champions Cup games throughout this time also.
Yeah.
Now, something else that I wanted to bring up before we keep going is that when you're looking at that first game against NYCFC, something that stood out to me was the start time. It's Saturday at 2:30 in the afternoon.
How weird.
Now,
First game.
everybody's been saying, oh, man, we need to stagger the start times. We need to stagger the start times. I'm not going to lie to you. I've been one of those people that kind of like the 7 o'clock, but that's selfishly that I like the 7 o'clock because I hate going to the games at 2:30 in the afternoon. It's so goddamn hot out there. I'm okay with the 7:30 start, but everybody wanted it, and it looks like they got it because we have 4 games that are starting earlier than 7:30, and we have quite a few Sunday games also. I want to say we have 6 or 7 Sunday games because, for example,
There are a lot of Sunday games, I've noticed.
that first road game against Houston is on a Sunday. The following week against Charlotte is on a Sunday. Then the week after that against Atlanta is also on a Sunday. So that's 3 Sundays in a row. Then you have Saturday against the Union, and then Toronto on Sunday, and then Chicago on Sunday. So let me get this straight. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So out of our first 7 games, 5 of them are going to be on Sundays. I'm not a fan. I don't like these Sunday games. I work on Mondays.
Yeah, I don't like the Sunday games either. I'm not a big fan. And by the way, Mike V, do you have a camera on me? Because I thought Chris was drinking a glass of milk. I actually was drinking a glass of eggnog earlier. But I do like that they're staggering the games, though, Danny. It's what you asked for.
I didn't want that.
February 22nd, we're the only 2:30 game. Then there's LAFC against Minnesota, 4:30. Then there's 5 games at 7:30. Then there's 4 games at 8:30, and then 2 games at 10:30. So somebody in MLS was paying attention, and they're staggering the starts. I mean, the very next week, you have the same thing: 1 2 o'clock game. You have a 4:30 game. You have 4 7:30 games. You have 3 8:30 games. you have a 9:30 game, and then you have 3 10:30 games.
Like I said, I'm not a fan. But it is what it is, I guess. And
Danny,
also, the Sunday games. Go ahead.
You were gonna say Sunday games?
No, that the Sunday games, at least if they were the 2:30, like the first game of the year against NYCFC, if they were 4:00, 5:00, these Sunday games are at 7:30, 7:30 at night. I'm gonna be getting home late on a Sunday night to wake up early on a Monday, and then we usually do post games. This is a brutal schedule for us.
Yeah, it's gonna be awful. And Sundays, I like to chill.
And you show up late to work, so you don't care. But I try to show up on time, so that's gonna be a difficult thing for me.
Marasovic, thank you so much for the super motherfucking duper slam.
Yeah, pull it up.
I thought you were gonna pull up the sound. There we go.
Marasovic, appreciate you.
Marasovic, thank you so much. He is requesting a Toto shirt, Danny.
What about Cremita y Toto?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Dan Crema and Toto, yeah? No.
Are you willing to compromise there?
No, I wouldn't.
Marasovic?
I
would do that. I think that's a great shirt. Are you kidding me?
All right. So I'm not a fan of the Sunday games. It looks like Sunday games. We have 7 Sunday games, which
I wouldn't mind it early though. I wouldn't mind it earlier though.
Yeah,
like 4:30.
Yeah, maybe.
I wouldn't mind those. If it's 7, that's awful. It's like what Mike V said. They blow chunks.
And the Orlando games are all on Sunday. So if you had planned to drive up to Orlando, you're gonna have to take that Monday off.
Well, no, May 17th, at least here at home, is at 7:25 on a Saturday.
Oh, it's on a Saturday?
Yeah, it's Saturday, 7:25.
But the one in Orlando is on Sunday.
Yes, the one in Orlando is on Sunday at 7:00,
Right.
August 10th.
So, are we playing Seattle for the first time in our history?
Well, we're playing a couple teams for the first time. The Minnesota, we're playing them. The Minnesota United, we're playing them for the first time. I believe we're playing Seattle for the first time, and they're here in Miami. Aside from that, I don't see any other team on this graphic that we're playing for the first time ever, other than those teams. I mean, have we ever played against the San Jose Earthquakes? I believe we have. I remember when Phil Neville was the coach, we played against San Jose, if I'm not mistaken.
We might. I'd be lying to you if I told you. I don't remember.
And Mr. Krabs is saying, I ain't driving to Orlando on my birthday. Guess I'm going to that game. Listen, I think it's really cool, man. I really can't wait to try to travel for some of these games. Are you considering traveling for some of the games, Danny?
No, I don't own a trucking company like you. I don't have the money to travel.
My gosh, are you kidding me? Literally, prices are going to be decent for flights. I don't know about the tickets though.
So, NYCFC always a solid team. Houston also great defensive team. Charlotte a good defensive team. Atlanta is our kryptonite. I think that the first 4 games are pretty tough. When you look at Houston and Charlotte had 2 of the toughest defenses in the league by far. And then NYCFC is always a good team. And then Atlanta seems to be our kryptonite, and they're going to have a whole new roster, which should be an improvement from what they already have. I'd say the first 4 games are pretty tough.
Yeah, it is going to be pretty tough. And then on top of that, I mean, you also have after that, I mean, the only thing I would imagine is Philadelphia, we're going to walk on them. Toronto, we're also going to walk on them as well. I imagine that after those 4, we're going to walk on the next 3.
I don't know about walking on them, but it does loosen up a little bit after the next 3. And then we get to April 19th against Columbus.
Yeah.
Which it's always a good game. That's away. That would be in Cleveland.
In Cleveland. Wow. How awkward.
Yeah. So that's going to be in Cleveland. That's going to be a big time. It's going to be similar to the KC game this year. We played in the Chiefs Stadium, Arrowhead.
Yes.
That's going to be similar to that. That's going to be an event in itself. It's going to be a standalone 4:30 game. So we're gonna have that, and then the week after that we have Dallas at home. I believe that's gonna be the second time we host Dallas, because the first time we hosted Dallas was when with that guy that was dating Becky G, that we kept asking them to play Becky G songs, and we couldn't get anybody to do it for us. For those of you that weren't watching us on our show, we were pleading somebody, please talk to the DJ and play some Becky G songs, because she had just broken up with, I forgot who it was that played on that team. May 3rd, again, a day off of your birthday, the Red Bulls again. So it'll be celebrating a year anniversary from Messi's 6-goal contribution game.
Yep.
Then we travel to Minnesota on May 10th.
And then San Jose.
San Jose, 4 days later. And then we have our first game against Orlando at home on Saturday at 7:25. And then we have, so this is all the month of May. So we have the 7 games: the Red Bulls, Minnesota, San Jose, Orlando, Philadelphia, Montreal, and then we end the month of May against Columbus.
That's going to be fun.
So out of those 7 games, 4 of them are at home. And then we have 2 long road trips with the Minnesota and San Jose. I mean, it could be worse, right? Because most of those games are at home, I don't feel bad about them. And after that Columbus game on May 31st, we have just about a month off from the regular season. That's rough, man. We have a week off, and then because the Club World Cup begins on June 14th or 15th, I want to say.
I'm not sure exactly when it starts. I don't want to give you a wrong date.
We're getting 2 weeks to get ready for the Club World Cup after that Columbus game. So that's a positive.
That's a huge positive. It's definitely going to be recovery after the 7-game slam, after the 7-game May month.
Now, we don't know how Inter Miami is going to do. Unfortunately, as optimistic as we want to be, we assume that Inter Miami won't make it too far in this tournament, right? But hypothetically, let's say they do, and they make it out of the group stage. If they make it out of the group stage, you're going to have to reschedule that Atlanta game, which is at home.
Mm-hmm.
So who knows when that'll end up being. And if you make it even further, you're probably going to have to reschedule that Montreal game. You got New England. And if you make it to the final somehow, you have to reschedule that Nashville and Cincinnati game. So how exactly do they plan to do this?
I don't know, dude.
Judging by this, they have no hopes of Inter Miami making it to the final. Because if they make it to the final, they'd have to reschedule 5 games.
They'd probably have to squeeze that somewhere in October or somewhere in August. Because in August is really the only place that I could see them squeezing that in there.
They can't, and we're going to get to August in a second.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, because in August, you see how there's all weekend games.
Yes.
So I'm assuming you're thinking to yourself, we could squeeze them in the middle, right? On Wednesday.
Yes.
Remember, that's when Leagues Cup's going to be played.
Yes. And they're Wednesday games.
Which I can't imagine that we're going to be part of the Leagues Cup because it's only 18 teams. But if hypothetically they include us in the Leagues Cup, all of those weekdays in August are all going to be Leagues Cup games.
Oh my goodness. So we're not even going to be able to cram them. Well, for sure we can't cram them in July. In July, look at that. There's games like every 5 minutes.
So like Soccer Daddy's saying, and like I just said, it's because they know we're not making it far.
There's no way, dude. Come on, man. How can you expect that the team is not going to make it far in some of these tournaments?
Because it's the Club World Cup.
I don't know, man.
We're not talking about Champions Cup. We're talking about the Club World Cup, which is the best clubs in the world.
Yes.
Which I don't think they're going to bring their A teams, but even their B teams are probably pretty stacked.
Well, I don't see them fitting any of those games in July, because in July, it seems like we play like every 2-3 days for like a stretch. I mean, look at that. July 5th, July 9th, that's 4 days later. July 12th, 3 days later. July 16th, 4 days later. July 19th, 3 days later. We get a week off to come back to play against Cincinnati.
And you see that break between July 26th and August 10th?
Yes.
That's supposed to be for the Gold Cup because we're hosting that in this country also, right? The Gold Cup, the U.S. men's national team is going to be hosting that.
Oh, this thing is going to be a mess.
I guess you could fit some games there, right? You can fit like 2 or 3 games there if needed. But it's looking tight. It's looking really tight.
I mean, this essentially looks like we're going to be fitting some games in either. I mean, I don't see it in September either. Where the hell are we putting these games at, Danny?
Well, remember, that's only hypothetically if we advance far in the Club World Cup.
But if that's a possibility, you're talking about rescheduling a couple games.
I don't know. I think that we could maybe take it out of the group stage. If we can win that first game against Al Ahly, and then we can draw against Porto, or I forgot what the other team was. If we could go ahead and somehow get out of the group stage, they'd have to reschedule that Atlanta game at a minimum. Maybe the Montreal game. And I think 2 games you can reschedule. But like I said, the way they put July 9th, 12th, and 16th, they don't expect this to go to the final.
No. Now, I mean, look, I'll tell you right now, Sean Callahan's saying August 10th through 30th, we can fit in 2 games. August 10th to 16th, that's a week gap. Then we got another week gap to August 23rd.
But remember, in between, that all depends on Leagues Cup. Because if we're part of Leagues Cup, which we have to wait till January to find out if we are, the Leagues Cup is being played on Wednesdays. So between the 10th and the 16th, we'd be playing a Leagues Cup game. Between the 16th and 23rd, we'd be playing a Leagues Cup game.
Yeah.
Now, I have a feeling that we're not going to be part of Leagues Cup because we're already part of the Champions Cup. We're part of the Club World Cup. So I don't think that they would just throw us in the Leagues Cup this year. It wouldn't make sense to me unless, like everybody's favorite phrase, a money grab. And in that case, then yeah, I guess it's possible. But I don't see it. But all right, so we've gone the first 16 games from February 22nd to May 31st. It starts off really rough, then it loosens up a little bit, right? It takes a little dip, but then the month of May, hardcore 7 games, 4 at home, 3 away, and then the month of May we end up against Columbus at home. So that's the first. I mean, it's less than half, but let's say the first half of the year.
Yeah.
Then we have those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 games that we think could be rescheduled if we make it far in the Champions. So many tournaments. In the Club World Cup, we don't know how it's going to be, but that's those 5 games. Atlanta, Montreal, New England. Oh, how hurt would Jose be if they have to reschedule that game on his birthday?
Oh yeah, that would be really bad. That would be really bad. He would die.
And then
internally.
Nashville and Cincinnati. Okay, so those games, maybe they get rescheduled. Now, let's say they don't get rescheduled. I think it's really funky that one of our biggest, I don't know if the word is rivals, but Cincinnati, right? A team that we've been playing, and those games have been important over the last couple seasons. We play them twice in a span of 10 days. July 16, we play in Cincinnati. Then we play July 19th in New York against the Red Bulls. And then on July 26th, we host Cincinnati. That's really weird. I think that's really weird.
Kind of weird. How come it's not as staggered? Why didn't they fit like the Seattle matchup there instead?
I don't know. That's really weird.
I think it would have been better. You know what I also think is very weird is that they have Diego Gomez's picture in the Red Bulls logo on May 3rd, but they don't have Campana anywhere on any of these pictures. So they knew the Campana trade was going to happen, which means that Robert Taylor, who's on the 29th, at least he stays. I mean, I'm just here like with my tinfoil hat on, okay? But why is Diego Gomez there on May 3rd? Where's Campana?
Do you think we're going to be I don't think we're going to be part of the Open Cup this year.
I hope not.
I haven't heard anything. But the way that the Leagues Cup format ended up working out, where they said it's going to be 18 teams, I feel like the number 18 sounds almost too perfect. Because you could put 18 teams in the Leagues Cup. You could put the 2 teams that play in the in the Club World Cup, which is Seattle and Miami. You put those, that's 20 teams right there that are playing an international tournament. And then the remaining 10 teams can go ahead and play in the Open Cup.
Yeah.
And I feel like that is the way that it should go. I have no idea if that's how it's going to go, but I think that makes more sense because if you start putting us in the Open Cup on top of all the other things we have, it's way too congested. Like it's already congested. And if you throw the Open Cup in there, those 8 games, remember, because it's possibly 8 games if we make it to the semifinals of the Champions Cup.
Yeah.
So if you make it to the finals of the Champions Cup, you all of a sudden playing 8 games in May. And if you're playing in the Open Cup, add 2 games to that. You'd be playing 10 games in the month of May. I don't think that Inter Miami is going to be playing in the Open Cup.
Well, I mean, if they do, you're definitely going to get like the C team. I mean, look, Kerry is saying it here. Can we just win the MLS trophy? There's way too many things happening. I mean, this schedule is going to be a mess at some point.
At some point, I'm going to try tomorrow because tomorrow is probably a slow day at work. Tomorrow, I'm going to try to find 20 minutes, and I'm going to do what I did last year, where I put the games that would be possibly played if they were to be part of the Open Cup or Champions Cup if they make it far, so we could see how congested that is. Because last year, when you put a visual to it, it looked like a mess.
Oh yeah.
So I'm gonna try to do that again tomorrow because I think getting that visual really makes it stand out. All right, so Open Cup, I don't think so. I really don't think that that's happening. I wouldn't mind it. I know everybody, and I've admittedly said I'm not a big Open Cup guy, but I don't mind it if they're okay with the B team or the young guys playing, right? I don't mind it. I would love to see David Ruiz play out there, and some of the young guys, Leo Alfonso and stuff. I would love to root for them while they're playing, and then if we make it to the semifinal, then bring in the big dogs.
Sean is asking, isn't the Sporting KC game February 28th also too?
What Sporting KC game?
The Sporting.
Oh yeah,
KC
for the Champions
game.
Cup.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's the 28th, and it's the week before, which is what was the first game? Because the 28th is the second game. I believe the second leg. I'll tell you right now.
Nick Powell is saying Inter Miami versus Greenville Triumph Open Cup. Ronaldinho did just buy part of the Triumph.
And then real quick, the 18th and the 25th is the KC games. So we're playing our first game that matters on February 18th, which is 4 days before the NYCFC game. And then we play the second leg of the Sporting KC match 3 days after, which is February 25th. So
how cool is this magnet going to look when we get it in the first game, huh?
Did we get a magnet last year?
Yeah, I got a magnet. You didn't get a magnet?
No, nobody likes me.
Oh my goodness! Of course, nobody likes you. You're the Grinch.
I know. It's okay. And shout out to Miami Night. Yes, hit the like button. Help us out.
Come on, guys.
All right, so we've gone over the first half, a little more than half, right?
Yeah.
So we stopped talking when we were talking about the 2 Cincinnati games that are 10 games apart, which I think is very weird. So that brings us to the end of July. Then we start August, which I think gets really interesting. Because coming off of playing, well, you know what? Let's go back. Starting July 16th, things get really interesting. Because July 16th, play against Cincinnati, which you would assume would still be a decent team. Then you have the defending Eastern Conference champions, the Red Bulls.
Yeah, 3 days later.
And then you have Cincinnati again at home.
7 days later.
And then you have a small break of 2 weeks, which I would assume is for the Gold Cup. Yeah. And then you go into August against Orlando. And then in Orlando, and then you play against the Galaxy. We host the Galaxy, and we haven't played them since what was the last time we played the Galaxy?
I could look that up real quick.
I think it was our opening game 2 years ago. I think it was the season opener.
Inter Miami versus, let's see. I mean, I know that we played them earlier in the season. We actually played them February 25th.
Yeah,
and we tied. It was tied 1-1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was the season opener. Yeah, so we have the Galaxy, which should be fun. Those are the defending champions, so that'll be a big time game, August 16th. And then after the Galaxy, I think things loosen up a little bit again. We have DC United, we have Chicago, we have Charlotte again, good defense, but we'll be coming off of that's an international break the week before. So off of an international break. Yeah, but it's international break. And then we have Seattle at home, which is an exciting game. I'm looking forward to that.
3 days later, and then 4 days later.
And then we have NYCFC in New York, and then 3 days later you have Toronto. Wow, that's a lot of three.
Yeah, man. You have a ton. I mean, after DC United, you have DC United. Then you have 4 days later, you fly out to New York. Then you got 3 days later, you go out to Toronto. And then a week later is when you play against the New England Red Bulls and Campapi here in Campapi land.
Mm-hmm.
And then 2 weeks later, awkwardly, like every last game of the season, we play against the stupid Nashville team.
And shout out to Sean. He's saying, isn't away NYCFC not in Yankee Stadium?
Depends.
I don't know. Has that been announced? It's September 24th, which is
close to the playoffs.
Right. It's towards the end of the season. I'm sure. Mm-hmm. I mean, the MLB schedule's already out. I'm sure I could see if they're playing there.
I mean, it's good. It's September 24th. They play in NYC, and it would be expected that they're not, because again, it's getting close to the hump for the Red October. So
I'll tell you right now,
September 24th would be at New York, which would be at Yankee Stadium typically.
And September 24th, the Yankees are hosting the Chicago White Sox. So that game will not be at Yankee Stadium, because the Yankees are going to be playing in Yankee Stadium on that day. So yes, that game on September 24th will not be there. So at least we avoid the sand pit.
Yeah, that would be a rough game, but I mean, we'll probably play in Queens, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe the Mets are going to be playing away that game.
Let me check. I'll check right now.
Yeah, September 24th. I imagine that if the Yankees are going to play at home, I imagine the Mets are going to be playing away on September 24th.
We'll see. And then we end the season away in Nashville. Now, we know that we had, and this year it kind of fell off because they sucked, but we like to say that we have a bit of a rivalry. And yes, the Mets are playing in Chicago on the 24th, so they might play it in Citi Field. So the last game of the season, decision day, is against Nashville. Do you think that there's any chance that we win the Supporter Shield again this year?
Looking at this schedule, the first thing I thought was within the first 2 to 3 games, it's going to be a struggle. After that, I feel like it's going to be pretty smooth sailing up until we get into May. And I feel like May is going to be
first 4 games are rough.
Yes, the first 4 games I feel like are going to be pretty rough. After that, I feel like we're going to be pretty smooth up until May. May, I think, is going to be a problematic month. Then after that, a lot of people are saying no.
And look, I said no last year. I said we had no chance. Like, I didn't just say no. I doubled down. I said there's absolutely no chance that we support a Shield, because I thought because of the summer, Messi and Suarez and all of them taking that time off, I was like, there's no chance. But they played great thanks to Tata. Shout out to Mike V. But I'm gonna say no again. Hopefully, I get proven completely wrong again. But I don't think there's any chance. Much like everybody else in the chat saying, I don't think there's any chance that we win the Supporter Shield again.
I feel like we have an opportunity to do it. I feel like we have 2 problematic times. We have some of May, and then in July, I feel like it's going to be pretty problematic with the Cincy matchups and with Campapi, of course. Other than that, I kind of feel like the end of our schedule is more of a gimme. Like, I feel like everything from like August 23rd and on, I feel like we can legitimately go undefeated in those games. August 23rd forward, I feel like we can go undefeated.
All right. So I'm looking back, right? Because what was our biggest issue last season? Let me take this schedule off. And chat, please throw in any questions or comments that you want us to cover as we start wrapping this up. What was our biggest issue last season?
Well, our biggest issue in terms of like personnel.
That's just the team in general.
Well, I felt like a lot of our big players were away for like international duty.
Okay, but our defense is what I was looking for. What I thought you were
Okay,
going to
yeah,
say.
our defense, yeah, that's what where I would have gone for in terms of personnel for sure.
Right. So I felt like our defense was very subpar. And when you are thinking about Mascherano, you're kind of hoping that he can fix that. Now, I'm curious, when do you think that when do you okay, this is fixed? Like, how long until you're like, okay, our defense is looking better? Like, just one game, one clean sheet, or is it going to take more?
No, it's got to take more, man. I feel
Okay.
like if you want to see a good defense, you need like a good string of defensive outings.
Okay. Now, the reason I bring this up is because KC didn't have a good offense last year. Now, again, the offseason is still upon us, right? All these teams can improve with player acquisitions and things of that nature, or coaches and things like that. But just going based off of last season, offensively, NYCFC, not a great offensive team.
Mm-mm.
Houston, not a great offensive team. No,
they were
great
decent.
defensive. No,
they were great defensively.
They scored 47 goals all year. That was one of the lower teams as far as offensive goes. Charlotte, very poor on the offensive side also. Now, if they get Almiron, like they're rumored to get and stuff like that, then maybe things change. So when I look at the first 5 games, the 2 games against KC and the first 3 games against NYCFC, Houston, and Charlotte, there's a chance that our defense looks decent or good.
Just based off the matchups.
Right, but we're not being tested. Now, Atlanta, last year, also not great, but we know that everybody left that team. Yeah. They had nobody. They're about to load up. So we don't know what they're going to look like. Then you have Philadelphia, weak offensively. Toronto, weak offensively. Our defense, I don't think, gets tested until April 19th against Columbus. Now, I'm not saying that these teams are going to
away.
I'm not saying that we're going to just clean sheets all the way around, but I'm saying to play a good offensive team, we have some very subpar attacks coming our way to start the season. So I think Mascherano has the benefit of the schedule where our defense might look better than it actually is. And we don't know how it's going to really look until we start getting tested.
And you don't think Toronto is a team to fear, or are we like past that? Like, are we past the whole Toronto deal?
They're trying to figure out how to get rid of Insigne.
Yeah, but Bernadeschi's a problem. He's a problem at any. I don't know if he's like still signed to the team, but like if he is, and if they haven't gotten rid of Insigne, then I could still see them as problematic. Other than Columbus, I could see that maybe Orlando, May 17th would be a problem.
And I was off. Look, I was completely off. And for some reason, I didn't think Philadelphia was one of the better offensive last year. Philadelphia had the 3rd most goals in the Eastern Conference.
And they're good defensively as well.
Yeah, they were
decent. At least they're one of the better ones. They're one of the better defensive teams, yes.
So Philadelphia looked decent. I mean, they're not going to have Jim Curtin anymore. But Philadelphia was good offensively. So, yeah. But for the first 5 or 6 games, I think that Mascherano has an opportunity to create an image that he has fixed the defense. And you know what? I think if you instill some confidence and you feel like, oh, our defense has looked better, I think that goes a long way. So,
I mean, Mike V believes here that Mascherano is not going to be calling the shots. What do we bring him over for then, Mike V? What do we bring him for?
Let's see. Are we forgetting anything else to mention about the schedule?
No, I mean, aside from the schedule, I really do believe like that we can win out a lot of the games towards the end of the year, towards the end of the season. Other than that, I do feel like we can get the Supporter Shield. I don't know about winning like the points record again or like surpassing what we already passed against New England, right?
Look, there's going to be no long international tournament that Messi or Suarez are a part of, or anybody's really a part of. So if they miss time for rest or for, they get nicked up or injured or whatever, it's going to be because of that. But we're not looking at like last year. We're like, oh my God, the month of June and some of July, Messi and Suarez are gone forever. Like, no, we should have a relatively full squad for a large part of the year. So, it's not too bad. And for those of you wondering, because I see somebody say, are we doing preseason? Yes. Preseason begins January 18th, is it, Chris? Yes, January 18th. It is exactly 18th. Exactly 30 days away. You are going to get your Inter Miami fix on the pitch against Club America. Exactly 30 days away. And we are 65 days away from our home opener against NYCFC. And technically, the first game that really matters is 4 days before that against KC. So 61 days away, right? Because even though NYCFC is the first game, like that KC game is probably even more important because it's the Champions Cup. And if we don't get the MLS trophy, which I'm dying for, right? Because I want that star above the crest. If it's the Champions Cup that we get instead, so I'll be okay with that, because to me, that's technically a bigger trophy.
Okay, that's a good discussion. I know that people are like clamoring to talk about calendar. I don't know if maybe we should just leave that for another day, because everybody's shaking in their boots because of Campana.
Look, if people felt hurt about Campana leaving, just wait until Drake and Robert Taylor leave. That's really gonna hurt.
I mean, look at what you're wishing.
I'm not wishing it, but I'm expecting it. I told you Campana was leaving. Robert Taylor, because he gets paid such a small amount, maybe he stays. But Drake, I have a feeling Drake might go, man.
Well, you got a lot of people that are gonna riot if that's the case.
Well, I think that a lot of people are way too hard on Drake. I think Drake is better than people give him credit for. So
I don't understand how people can be able to see Drake out of here. I mean, Dos Salsa just got given to San Diego. Cole Jensen got released. In reality, Drake Callender...
Negri went to San Diego.
Yeah. In reality, Drake Callender has no goalie behind him other than Ustadi, who hasn't even been
they're going to bring a goalie.
Well, yeah, look, that Argentine guy, I forgot what his name is, another guy from Argentina.
The money that they're freeing up, I mean, that isn't just for fun. They got something in mind. And don't forget that when you move Campana, you also free up an international slot.
Mm-hmm.
There's something cooking. I don't know if it's Neymar. I still hold on that 2026 makes more sense to me. But people keep saying, look out for Neymar. And although I'm with a lot of people where the nostalgia of the MSN is kind of cool, I don't know how that would look, man, because he's always injured.
Yeah, man.
Like if you think about Suarez, everybody's like, oh, his knees. But he was player of the year in Brazil the year before, and he played almost every game. Neymar, on the other hand, missed like a whole season, came back, got injured again. Like, I don't know.
Well, Ustadi apparently is going to be the goalie coach. John Paul calling it right now, Drake and Taylor out. So there's that for you guys.
I think so, man. I think so. All right. Do you have any final words there, Chris?
No, man. Listen, the schedule release is always awesome. It would have been better if Campana wasn't shipped out to Boston. Some of the worst. I mean, it's just, this is a catastrophic, Danny.
I've heard the name Di Maria kicked around a little bit, Lucho, and if it were to happen, it'd be next summer. So, honestly, I'm kind of curious to see who we're going to get this transfer window. And maybe it's not Neymar. Maybe Marasovic said Pogba. Maybe it's Pogba. You know what? If I had to pick between the two, if they were both completely healthy, I'd go Neymar. But because I question Neymar's health, I wouldn't mind Pogba in the midfield. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think that, and De Bruyne.
Nah, he's going to San Diego probably.
Yeah, you think it's a lock? You keep saying that. San Diego, De Bruyne, a lock?
He's not coming here.
No,
Mm-mm.
that'd be cool.
It
Soccer
would
Daddy
be.
predicting
He's
a
San Lehi's masterclass.
yeah. We'll
That'd
see
be
about
cool.
that. Let me tell you, the beginning of the season is going to be very interesting, guys. This is where you're going to see a lot of stuff. You're going to see some coaching stuff. You're going to see some San Lehi stuff. It's going to be fun.
But the way that the schedule ended up, I think is favorable for Mascherano and the team. Not because they're easy opponents, because they're good on defense. Houston, great defensive team. Charlotte, great defensive team. So it's going to be a struggle for our attack to score, but their attack isn't great. So we might be looking at it like, oh my God, what's going on with the attack? What's going on? Why is Luis Suarez? Did Luis Suarez lose a step? Right? Because that's how they were talking in the beginning of this season, right? Did Luis Suarez finally lose a step?
Yeah.
What's wrong with Messi? So maybe we won't be scoring 5 or 6 goals, but we'll be like, but at least our defense is improved. So it's a long season. It's gonna be fun, and I'm looking forward to it. But that is this year. James rumored to come. I don't know, man. There's a lot of bad talk about James right now. Evagio over there in La Liga in España. They're things are not going well over there. So,
I mean, we're fishing out here for Otamendi now, Mr. Krabs.
Oh no, please no. All right, Chris. Again, I think I asked you already, but I'm just gonna say one more time. Final words.
Te quiero, Campapi.
For those of you that want to hang out with us a little further, we're going late tonight. We're going to be back on in about 4 or 5 minutes. Battered Herons en Español with Xavier Lavos and Solana. We'll be talking schedule, Chris Henderson, Campapi, Negri, Sanlehi, all that other stuff. So make sure that you jump on with us. It's a different channel, Battered Herons en Español on YouTube. So make sure you join us at 10 o'clock. And for those of you that joined us now on audio, please leave us 5 stars, a comment, review on YouTube, like and subscribe. And for those of you in the chat, as always, you guys are awesome. We appreciate you hanging out with us for the last hour. And again, stick with us en Español in a couple minutes. So join us then. So until the next one, have a good one.